Hey everybody, I'm back, and you know what? Even more importantly, NFL football is back. So I know you're even more excited about that. But while I was waiting for this game to start, the Pats and the Chiefs, of course, I'm talking about, got me thinking, what can fantasy football teach us about money and wealth? Maybe you haven't gotten to my foundation series yet, and perhaps this will be a good entry point for you because my whole video series there was about showing that money and wealth aren't the same thing. You see, if you just simply keep printing more dollars, that doesn't create more stuff, more wealth, more things, more people with skills. Doesn't create any of that. Well, let's show how fantasy football auctions can tell us much the same thing. ESPN Insider has a cool feature called the Custom Dollar Value Generator, which allows you to get projections tailored specifically to your league settings. It's really a nice thing, especially if you're in an auction league. Gives you specific dollar value projections on what RotoWire.com and ESPN thinks that all the players are going to be worth in your league. Well, just to make it really simple, we're just going to focus on one variable here, which is the completely arbitrary but pretty standard in ESPN fantasy leagues $200 budget. So let's just run some numbers with ESPN's default settings and see what it gives us real quick. So David Johnson is the top player here. That's no big surprise. Le'Veon Bell. Those are clearly the top two. Worth 65 according to their projections and 63 respectively, with LaShawn McCoy with a pretty big tier there going all the way down to 42. So, okay, let's just focus on David Johnson here. Again, making it simple, he's worth $65 according to their projections. Let's make a different selection, though, just to make my point for me here. So, instead of a $200 budget, let's double it to $400, because why not? 4 is my favorite number. And submit that. Again, same numbers, same settings, other than we're going to double the budget. So having doubled the budget, guess what? David Johnson is now worth, according to their projections, $130, which is, to no one's surprise, exactly double 65. So the question is, have we created more wealth here, or have we just created more money? Now, to me, the answer is obviously no. Just simply creating more dollars before the draft, it didn't create more players for anybody to pick. It didn't change David Johnson's statistics regardless of how many dollars were in the league. No, it's nothing. All that's changed is the amount of completely arbitrary dollars. Now, certainly, fairy tale football isn't analogous to the real world in at least one important way. You see, myself and my fantasy league mates aren't born on the exact same day with the same amount of money in the bank as seemingly our fantasy teams do. You see, they're born on the same day, when you think about it, on draft day. No, a more apt comparison to the real world would be if the extra $200 per team added in my football scenario were added during, not before the draft, but during the middle of the draft. Now think about that. You see, in that scenario, teams who had already accumulated a decent amount of players, like David Johnson, for instance, they'd be the beneficiaries of that, because those who hadn't spent their money on the top dollar players would be then left scrambling for sort of mid-tier or lower-tier players that are highly inflated. Guys like, I hate to say it, Jeremy Maclin. I mean, it's possible that Mr. Maclin could approach Le'Veon Bell's value in that scenario if there's nobody left on the board and just a ton of money chasing after not enough goods. When Jeremy Maclin's price approaches Le'Veon Bell's, I mean, guess what? Price has lost all meaning in that scenario when a mid-tier player like Maclin comes to that point. So what's my point? What does this have to do with anything? Well, basically when central banks, when they print money in reality, which historically throughout the world and everywhere, they always are printing more money. Hey, it shouldn't be a big surprise that there are winners and losers of that process too, because the money is not distributed evenly. And moreover, prices become less and less meaningful over time. Now, basically, the whole thing I'm getting at here is I just want you to go watch my foundation video if you haven't already, because I think I've done a much better job than I have here just talking out my butt about fantasy football. So I hope you'll join me there, and if not, go Chiefs. I'm thinking by the time you see this, you'll know what's happening. I'm going to look stupid, but I'm going to make a prediction anyway. I'm going to say that the Chiefs are going to cover the spread and lose in a game that is not quite as close as it seems. So kind of like their playoff game in Foxborough a couple of years ago. That's what I'm seeing. All right, and with that, I'll get out of here. See you later, everybody.